Hi.
Hello. And
Playing-
that's all we got. You're playing with your shirt, right? Fixing
my
it.
cartoon shirt.
I miss Saturday morning cartoons. Tina's shirt says.
I do miss Saturday morning cartoons.
I know. I wish it could be Saturday every day. We can watch cartoons, but alas, we cannot. That was lifetimes ago.
Way too long ago. Anyway.
You got yours, and I have schmutz on my shirt.
You have
so.
Yes,
I have MTV, but I got schmutz on here.
Oh, well,
I don't know what it's from.
We'll throw it in the laundry.
It's probably the cocktail I was making earlier. I probably got egg white or something on here.
I don't even see it.
I saw it a little while ago. It's but whatever. Anyway, welcome back. Shower Talk with Tina and Norm. Episode 63.
Dang.
The Land of Illusion. Right?
Yes.
That's pretty much what it is.
It is the land of illusion.
We are all living in a land of illusion.
Ain't that the fucking truth?
Whether you believe this is real or whether you believe this is all a simulation or the Matrix or we were put here by aliens or whatever, it still feels like an illusion sometimes.
It does. It's merely an illusion.
It is merely an illusion. Yes. Anyway, we the idea comes from Mel Robbins podcast that Tina was listening to, and then she got me to listen to it. And
it was great.
I didn't finish it. We were listening to it in the car, and I can't remember where we were going when we were going, but
we were at Soray Wellness getting red light therapy.
No, we were driving because I wouldn't have listened to it then. We would listen to it for a long time, and you put it on in the car.
I don't remember.
But I just don't remember where we were going to.
That's okay.
Anyway, I'll think of it later. Yeah. It was very interesting. She had a gentleman on there talking about what was it? Collective illusion. Collective illusion. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And how he talked about some studies and stuff. We'll get into that. But what is it? What is collective? Oh. Tina's got it on her phone.
I do actually. I will read to you.
Yeah. Collective illusion.
Collective illusion.
It's kind of interesting concept.
It really is. So a collective illusion is a situation where most people in a group go along with a belief or behavior that they privately disagree with because they mistakenly think that the majority agrees with it.
Yeah.
This can lead individuals to act against their own values and interests, creating widespread misconceptions about societal norms and values that are detrimental to a free society. Examples include the belief that success is defined by wealth and fame, when most people actually prioritize fulfillment or the idea that a 4-year degree is the best path for everyone.
Yeah.
So, and then it gave different, false consensus and conformity bias and things. But It's pretty interesting because there are a lot of people who, what have we always said? You're going along with the crowd. Even though you don't believe it, you don't live it, it's not in your heart, and you go along with it because you don't want to be different or you want to make sure you belong because we're tribal by nature.
Yeah. Well, it's so one of the things on there, we just talked about it again earlier, or you brought it up because we had talked about it. That was interesting. The guy talked about how, and it could be both good and bad, right? I would argue that overall it's not good, but it could have good intention, right? We could say it has good intention because the example he used was when he was younger, it was his grandparents, right?
Yep.
He talked about going and visiting with his grandparents, and he liked being at home. He liked playing. What was he? Played a game. I
believe
with
it was Yahtzee.
Was it Yahtzee or Uno? I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was Yahtzee.
He liked being there with them and playing a game with them. And they decided, somehow they got it in their brain that he liked to go to Sizzler. So then every time he would go visit, they would take him to Sizzler. And all he wanted to do was stay at home with them.
Because she would make him bologna sandwiches.
Right. He liked to have bologna and play games with them. Mm-hmm. And so he didn't really want to go to Sizzler, but he didn't want to tell him he didn't want to go to Sizzler. And then later on in life, when his grandma was like on her deathbed, she told him that she she knew what he really loved, which was going to Sizzler, and he didn't have the heart to tell her he hated it. So,
but she said
they didn't really like doing it. So they went all these years as a young person going to Sizzler, and neither of them wanted to go.
Nope.
Neither of them wanted to go. He didn't want to go. He wanted to spend time with them and eat bologna, and they didn't want to go. They wanted
to do the same,
right?
But they thought he liked it.
But they thought he wanted it. So nobody said anything.
Yep.
Nobody said anything for all these years, and they all kind of went around being. They were. I don't want to say they were unhappy, but they weren't as happy as they could have been.
That's correct. And they missed out on some great times, he said, playing Yahtzee. By the way, his name is Todd Rose.
Okay. Because basically they missed out on those because neither one could speak up because they thought they were going to hurt each other's feelings, ultimately.
Isn't that most of the reason why people don't want to speak up is because they think they're hurting someone's feelings? I feel like that's a large part of it.
It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
So in that situation, 100%. And the intention is correct.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say. Is the intent is from love, ultimately.
It was.
The grandparents were one. It made me think of my grandparents. And whenever I would go visit them, somehow, like my mom tells a story. Of course, it's my mom who tells a story. I'm sure my aunts and uncles probably have a different version of this story, as it usually is, especially in my family. 12 aunts and uncles total. My grandparents, there were so many cousins and stuff, but they always wanted me to come over. And my mom said some of her family members or sisters or whatever would want to bring the kids over to grandma's, and they'd be like, "Oh no, Norman's coming over." So, no. So they wouldn't let the other kids come over. And then I wasn't even coming over. They would ask me to come over, right? They didn't want them there. They wanted me to come over. So they would even use me as the excuse and have me come to the house. I was just going to
say, that's kind of genius,
right.
Actually.
But every time, I don't know where it started, but I can just remember every time going there, we would get there and they would be putting on their coats and stuff, and they would take me to Pizza Hut. So we would go to Pizza Hut. Mm-hmm. That was back in the day when it had the red candle on the table with the netting on it and stuff. And they brought the pizza to the table, We're not talking about the buffet years, or even the pan pizza years, because those didn't even exist at that time. But it made me think of that. Now, I really enjoyed going.
Of course.
Probably because I was just hanging out with them.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like I had to go, but then it became a thing. Like we had to go. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Now how much they enjoyed it, I don't know, but they always used me as an excuse, to get out of having to watch anybody else's kids, because I was coming over and then they'd want me to come to the house. So kind of funny, but that's what it made me think of.
That is funny.
So in his case, it's an endearing, sweet,
yeah,
almost heartbreaking story, because they all went through this for one another, but they never talked to each other about it.
Yeah.
They never said anything about it. And they all could have been even happier and enjoyed their time together more.
Made more memories. Yeah. Well, what's interesting is the theory, which we thought was interesting together, as well as me separate, when I was like, you got to hear this. He actually has scientific proof that authenticity is a real thing.
Yeah.
And that being authentic makes you whole, basically. When you're being authentic is when you are at your happiest, you are at peace, because you are literally being yourself. So you were always like, this is hokum, this is hippy dippy shit, this is, whatever, new age stuff. And in reality, there's actually science behind it. They actually have scientific data that states this is real, which is kind of cool, actually, because for those who don't believe the hippy dippy new age stuff, and you're a scientific person, well, now you got it on both sides, right? So it may be just explained differently, but in reality, being yourself is the way to go.
Right.
So the real question is, why do people feel so scared to be themselves? As far as I understand already, it's going to be, you don't want to be rejected. You don't want to feel alone. You don't want to feel like a weirdo. Who fucking cares? Because guess what? You're going to find other people like that. But you're going to find other people like that. When you say, I want to find my person.
Yeah.
if you're being yourself, okay, so here's the thing that I don't understand. And I don't think anyone's ever going to be able to explain it to me. If I'm pretending to be someone else, I'm going against who I am as a person. I'm foregoing potentially things that I believe in morally, ethically, spiritually, whatever, right? I'm going against myself because I want to fit in with this group of people.
Sure.
Okay. So my first thought is, what happens if at any time all of a sudden they change their narrative and something changes, and now all of a sudden something that you went along with the whole time that you changed about yourself that was going against you now goes to something else. Now you have to change again.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you don't change, they might look at you and go, well, you already believe this. So they kind of walk away. So were you ever really part of that group to begin with?
Right.
No.
Right.
No, you were never part of the group. And if you have to give a piece of yourself up to be part of a group, that's not your group.
Right.
Why do you want to be part of it? Why do you want to be around people that don't value you? And then you bitch about people not valuing you. Yeah. You're accepting that it's okay because, right? So you deserve to belong, not fit in.
Right.
We all got used to quote unquote fitting in.
Yeah.
Because you want to fit in, but that doesn't mean you belong. Fitting in and belonging are two different things.
Yes. Right. Well, I think it probably kind of like when we talked about the seasons, our last episode, when we talked about seasons of a relationship, I think your life is the same way. When you're younger, you're trying to figure out, first off, you don't really know who you are.
Right.
And you don't know who your people are. So you're trying to fit in to figure some of that out. And then it takes sometimes being around those people that you don't want to be around. Now, let me finish that thought. It takes being around those people that you realize maybe they aren't the people you want to be around. So they're not necessarily, if you're in grade school, you hang out with these kids this year and this kids next year. And then eventually you find some people that you continue to hang out with for years. Because the others fall off, whether they go away, meaning they leave, go to another school, or you just don't really.
Right. You don't jive.
Right. It just doesn't work. But you are trying to fit in, let me go play some kickball. It's not the most, but hey, there's a bunch of kids over here. The great example is the craps table, right? at the casino. Yeah. Everybody's having fun when they're playing craps.
Always.
How many of those people know what's actually going on? I don't know.
That's a good question.
I can tell you, I don't fucking know what's going on at the craps table.
Well, we don't.
But I want to,
right?
But I won't go up there because I don't fit in, right? I'm gonna look like that asshole that's like, what are you doing here, dude? Oh yeah, I'm just gonna cheer because I don't know what the fuck happened, but we won something, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I think there's little bits. I think if all you're trying to do is fit in for certain reasons, popularity, total acceptance, then you're doing the wrong stuff. I think there's times though that you'll do little things to fit in, maybe in the moment, maybe it's for
personal gain.
It could be for just a matter of cohesion,
Maybe just at that moment in time, it's like,
sure. You go to an event.
We need to do.
You go to an event, right? It's
playing in the sandbox.
It's playing in the sandbox, or it's the mask you have to wear at that point in time because you're playing a role. You're not necessarily, you're not being accepted as those people, but you're also not being shunned, and there's a role you have to play at that time. We've talked about roles a long time ago.
Yeah.
Sometimes the role you have to play in certain instances is to get through the evening, the day, the moment, the seminar, the event, whatever it is.
Right.
You have to play a little bit of a role. Does that mean you're not being authentic? Maybe.
Yeah.
Because if that's not who you normally are, but whose interest is it? Are you being, are you selling yourself out when you do that? Do you think?
I don't know. So it's not, you know me, I'm all black and white. I don't like the gray too much. But
you like color.
But listening, I love color. But listening to you talk about that, I think to myself, there are going to be situations where you need, I'm trying to think of how to word it. You're right. There's a situation, maybe for example, I'll just use work as an example. Maybe we're having a problem with a file and it turned into a shit show, and I need everybody, the attorneys, the realtors, everybody involved to help. And although I 100% disagree with how we got there, and 100% am pissed off that I know that I said, let's do this, and nobody fucking listened. And we ended up going exactly where I said we were going to go in the 11th hour. Instead of sitting around and pointing fingers and bitching and whatever, I just say, I keep my professional and just say, who gives a shit about whose problem it is, or who created it? Let's just fix it, get it done, and make our buyers and sellers happy. I don't like it, because I know that it's something that could have been avoided if people would have listened to me. And it bothers me because I'm not trying to fucking fit in with anybody when it comes to that.
Sure.
I'm actually a lone wolf by myself a lot of the times, which I don't like. Because there needs to be more people listening, and they're not. Hopefully they're starting to. However, it is a little upsetting because you're saying this is the way it could be done. If we're doing it this way, all this bullshit goes away if you just listen and do this. But because it's never been done that way, and because everybody's scared to leave the pack, and there's a zillion people who probably agree and want to do it, but oh my God, we can't go over there because she's all by herself. So this makes me think of that.
Or it's too hard.
But this makes me think of, it's like, well, we don't want to be, Tina's all by herself over here, and people think she's weird because she talks about things that other people aren't willing to talk about right now, or aren't willing to acknowledge, or aren't willing. I mean, how many times have I talked about things where people get uncomfortable because they're like, nobody wants to talk about it. But it's like, we have to fucking talk about this to fix it.
Right.
And then when there's problems, you're like, but none of you are willing to have the conversation to fix it.
Correct.
So there's times where I feel like I'm not being myself because I have to not say anything about it and move forward and get the job done. And I do it every single time because I'm a professional who cares about my buyers and wants to do it the right way.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I'm happy about doing it. However, I don't feel like, and I think this is where I'm going with this, is I don't feel like I didn't give in. I'm still me, and I'm still going to be standing over here by myself, even though I had to do it to fit in on that transaction or multiple transactions. I'm still saying, fuck you guys. This is wrong. I don't agree with it. Shouldn't have happened right after it's done. Like, whatever. Most people don't care. I'm going to keep fighting for the right thing to happen. Well, so I feel like I'm still being authentic, but I'm being professional. Like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like if you would have asked me that a long time ago, I would have been mad that I wasn't being myself, but I am still being myself. Yes. I'm being my professional self who's saying this just has to get done, and there's nothing bitching about it, and pointing fingers doesn't help anyone ever. It never does. But no one listened to me to start with. So instead of going, I told you so, let's just do what I told you to do in the beginning. Let's do this and let's get it done.
Right. Because once you're to the point where it needs to get fixed. Yeah. Because people do it a certain way.
Yes.
What's the alternative? Right. The alternative is to waste time being pissed off and preaching to people versus getting it done.
Or leave it for everyone else to try to figure out.
Or depending on what it is. Right. Yeah. But that's the other problem, is there's no fix. Yeah. You know, the problem is so there's been many times where we've talked about we've seen shit be stressful on a real estate deal, right? Because in Illinois, we use attorneys, right? We use attorneys on, at least in this area of Illinois, we use attorneys on the deals. Surrounding states don't, okay? No.
Even Southern Illinois doesn't.
You know, it's fine. That's how this is done around here. That's okay. But sometimes Joe Blow has an uncle who happens to be an attorney, Well, guess what? He's a corporate attorney or he's a litigator. He's
Mm-hmm.
not a real estate
Personal
attorney.
injury.
But because he's an attorney, he should be able to do this, and he's going to do it for me for free. And usually what happens is because they don't understand the process,
right?
Everything's challenging,
Mm-hmm.
everything's difficult,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't really know it.
Nope.
You know, yeah, they can read legal papers, but they don't quite understand it, so they make the process more difficult.
Yeah, there's really not that much arguing in these.
They usually muck it up somehow.
Yeah, they do.
And if they're a litigator, they want to argue about everything when there's no fucking arguing. But
there really is no reason, but yeah.
But they create this havoc in the process. Okay. So, you know, Joe Blow is my client, all right? And he brought his litigator uncle to do the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk to him, you tell him, well, I really recommend you use a real estate attorney. I can refer one, or you can pick any number of them. I can give you 10 of them if you want, that I know will do a good job for you, and they will look out for you in the way they need to. But just like, you know, I don't go to a pediatrician for my lung transplant, right? I go to somebody who I go to a pulmonary specialist. I'm assuming that's what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm going to L lung doctor, not the pediatrician, because this is what they specialize in. They know what they're doing.
Right.
Could the pediatrician maybe get you through it and get you done? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Could they fuck it all up?
School.
Could it take longer for you to heal, or could he, you know, something? Absolutely. So why wouldn't you use the person that's what they do?
Mm-hmm.
So what eventually happens is Joe Blow comes back in 5 years, even though it was a terrible experience with this attorney or this title company or this loan officer or this realtor or whatever. Everything was a shit show. When they come to the next transaction, they've forgotten all about it.
Yeah.
They've forgotten all about it.
Yeah.
And what do? They go and make the same mistake again. Because once it's done, it's out of sight, out of mind.
Sometimes.
And then a lot of times they're like, oh, that really wasn't that big of a deal. When it was in the moment.
Well, it was happening.
The sky was fucking falling.
Human nature.
But you'll put yourself back through the same thing because you won't change how it's done, because whether there's an expectation, whether I don't know what it is. It's fucking baffling is what it is. That's what I can tell you.
I think because people are creatures of, I mean, I'm a creature of habit. I like the same shows. I like to watch the same shows, but I won't do things that are destructive.
But if I put my hand on the burner of the stove and my hand burns, but it doesn't scar, oh, that wasn't that bad.
I know.
I'll do it again tomorrow.
Some people are habitual no matter what. Bad relationships, bad decisions, you know, poor choices, whatever.
Habitually moronic? Is that a term?
I don't know if it's just comfort or no accountability, looking to always blame someone else. It's always someone else's fault. I mean, it's just, don't even get me started on how sad that is. That people put so much of their control of their life in other people's hands.
Right.
Ugh.
Well, and that's what learn from it.
Yeah,
learn from it.
Right.
You're not, if you're going back and doing it again, that means you're going to do it again.
You didn't learn.
And you didn't learn. You didn't take into account. You justified what happened.
Yeah.
Or you just all of a sudden realized, I mean, and there's a difference in being dramatic, right? Or overreacting to some clients do this, of course. They overreact or they freak out because they think it's a big deal. And it's like, okay, listen, this is, in the grand scheme of things, this is pretty easy to deal with. But to them, any amount of stress is too much stress. So, and then when they're done, it goes away. That I understand because it's how they react. But some of them, it's not. It's actually a big deal. Yeah. And they went through hell to get it done, like pulling teeth. But then, it's okay. 5 stars, 2 thumbs up. Like, what the fuck?
Well, I think
something about it.
I think the other part of it is like, this is the collective illusion.
I know.
Is, well, this person has 500,000 followers on TikTok and Instagram, and everybody talks about how great they are, so they must be great, even though you don't feel that way. And I've had conversations with people in person, of course, where I'm like, where someone will ask me a question like, hey, do you follow so-and-so on TikTok or Instagram? And it's like, yeah, I think we're Instagram friends, but I don't really pay attention or whatever. And I'll be like, oh, do you ever see, is what they're saying, like, I can't tell if they're real or not real. Right. And, and I never met them in person, but, it's hard to tell. And I just laugh because they're like, but if they have that many followers, and I'm like, you could buy followers, right? So I used to work with someone who used to pay for followers on Instagram. Yeah. Because that was the thing. Right. There was a marketing company that used to be like, hey, for X amount of dollars, however much you want to spend, monthly spend, we could get you monthly followers. And I was like, no. I don't want people to follow me that don't want to follow me. I don't want fake followers. Like, you can't say that you're being real and authentic and all the other shit if you're going to be fake. Right. And that's fake.
Well, even
pretending you have followers.
He even talked about that, I think, a little bit on the Mel Robbins podcast. If I'm not mistaken, he talked about how so many out there are bot accounts. Or
yes. Yeah, what was the percentage?
Russian,
it was a huge
whatever.
Yeah, I think he said it was a huge percentage was. He also talked about how only 10% of the loud voices are the ones who are actually that was really huge, is that the reason that we are all believing, quote unquote, things that are being said, whether they're true or not, is because the big mouth assholes are the 10% loudmouths that talk shit and whatever, throw around their stupid narrative with no receipts and no substantial proof of anything. Yeah. But because they're so loud and, pushy and bullying and everything else, that we're also, the other 90% of us are supposed to just believe it. And then he talked about self-silencing. Right. And he said how many people are self-silencing and how damaging self-silencing is to the self, to each of us individually. Like he correlated it with why anxiety. You and I talked about, why do these kids have so much anxiety these days? Like these younger, why does every single person have so much anxiety that they need to walk around with their thumb in their mouth and a binky and a blanket? Because they're so upset and they cry at really, it's scary to think that people are that fragile in the world. However, brings up a great point. The ones who have never, they grew up being online. They were in friend groups only on Facebook and in Instagram and text messages and FaceTime. They don't even sit in the same room and they don't have that human interaction. I guess that makes more sense when you think about it. If they don't really have those human connections with people, I guess it makes sense that they would be anxious around people because they don't know who they are. However, the funny part was the self-silencing piece, where people are so afraid to say anything because they're afraid that they're going to be bullied. My mom just told me the other day, my mom is like the nicest person ever. She doesn't argue with anybody. She's non-confrontational. Right. She doesn't ever, she's just Joanne. Right. And she said that somebody made a comment on something on Facebook a few months ago, and she goes, the first time I ever put a response on there, and then she said one of her friends shamed her for her response. Right. And she was like so upset about it. And she's like, oh my God, I'll never do that ever again. And I said, and there you go. She got bullied into silencing again. Right. Because some person, their bigger mouth, decides that they're going to bully someone or whatever. And then the fucked up part is, you're the one who told me stop reading the comments because you go down the fucking rabbit hole of comments, and because it does, because nobody is listening. Everybody wants their ego to be stroked. Nobody's paying attention to what's really happening. It's all bullshit, and it turns into something that has nothing to do with the original thing was all about. Right. And it's all baiting. It's all baiting. And then the fucked up part is some people get louder. The ones we don't want to get louder. And the ones who need to be louder are silencing. Right. And this is why we're so divided today. because that's exactly what's happening. So
well, sure.
More people need to stop the self-silencing part. When he talked about anxiety and how much it actually affects people, like, again, this is all scientific. I think he was from Harvard or something like that. So it's like scientifically proven that when you're self-silencing, you're going against who you are as a person. Because I mean, I think about myself where I'm like, damn it, I wish I would have said that. Like, how many times have I said to you, I wish I would have opened my mouth and said something? It doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
But every so often, like, I mean, I used to always be that person who always zipped up, didn't say a word, ate the shit, ate the shit over and over and over again, just kept letting everybody pile it on. And I didn't say a word, and I let everybody say what they wanted, and I kept my mouth shut. And eventually I would explode like a fucking volcano.
Yeah.
And then people would be like, what happened? Well, you guys you fed me so much shit. You wouldn't let me open my mouth. You wouldn't let me say what I wanted to say. I had to go against who I was and pretend everything was okay. What the fuck you think's going to happen?
Right.
And so we see this on a daily. Whether you're a kid, a teenager, in your 20s, your 30s, your 50s, older, whoever, it doesn't matter. Self-silencing is hurting everybody mentally.
Right.
It is. It's mentally hurting people.
All I pictured was a giant shit volcano.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah, no,
I mean, but
seriously.
it's like, but it's true, because I would stay so quiet. I would stay so quiet, and then all of a sudden, I would just blow up. And I don't want that's
well, that's
not
what
healthy.
happens to people. So that bottles stuff up. So there's I think there's a few things in there that, you know, some they're related but not, right? So first off, let's go back to, he had said on there, the point he made was that he believes in a lot of the things that he sees is that most of us are more, and we've been saying this for a long fucking time, actually. It was just good to hear somebody educated on a very well-known podcast saying it.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's saying it. I think they're afraid to, and he clearly was not afraid to say it.
Right.
He said we are all more alike than we are not.
Correct.
Right?
Even Mel Robbins said it.
Right.
Yeah.
We are all, I think, you know, we're so inundated with left and right when it comes to politics, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's where we're at right now in the world. You're on this
it's
side
old.
or that side. It is.
It's so old.
But I feel like there's a lot of us that don't say anything. Because first off, we don't want to be in an argument. We don't want to be alienating somebody because of our beliefs.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and I think there's a difference. I can have a belief and not share it with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't need to.
Right.
Why do I need to share my belief with somebody that I know doesn't have the same belief?
Right. Exactly.
What's the point going to be?
Right.
Now, if we have a conversation about that, and we can have a conversation about that, then I'm okay with that.
Agreed.
You know, I use my boss at work. You know, she wasn't my boss, and now she is my boss. But and thankfully she is. You know, she's very good at what she does, and I appreciate her. She had said to me, she goes, you know, I told one of my other friends recently that, meaning me, I'm one of the people that she doesn't agree with politically, but she knows she can have a reasonable conversation about it.
That's a huge compliment.
Without either one of us trying to change each other's minds,
Correct.
but just trying to talk through things.
Yeah.
And it makes valid points,
yeah.
You know? And I think that's a big part of it. Like if I can talk to this person about some of what I believe without getting shit on for it, and they can talk to me because I'm not going to shit on them for it.
Correct.
I may not agree with them, but if I can show them reasons and they can show me reasons, now we have a little more understanding. And then stuff starts to blend.
Yeah.
And that to me is where common sense lies. Not the extremes.
Right. Oh no.
But all that gets the attention are the extremes.
Correct. Those are the 10%.
Those are the 10%. Right.
Yep.
But then they get the other people. This is what we started off talking about. They get all these other people to get on their bandwagon and beat that drum because they think that's where they're supposed to be.
I know. Stop
when
doing
they don't,
that.
I don't even think they know or believe that they believe it. I think they think that's what they're supposed to believe.
But that's terrible.
Well,
use your brain and stop letting other people control you. That annoys me to death.
It's like voting for somebody when you only agree with one thing they say. And
ridiculous.
And you can vote however you want, right? But I don't understand it. I would be looking for somebody who I have more in common with value-wise than not.
Yeah.
Some people will vote. Some people voted in these elections against somebody just because they don't like the person.
I know.
It's not because of their policies or the way they do things. It's because they don't like the person, so they're going to vote the other way. Well, what if the other way is not your values, but you're putting it all on because you don't like them? Like, I understand we want to like our candidates. We want to like the people in charge.
If they weren't politicians, we probably would.
That's true. But if we career politicians, we want to like them, right? Uh-huh. We want to be able to connect with them on a personal level.
Yeah.
I understand that. I completely understand why you'd want to, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for somebody to lead that meets what you do.
Right.
But we also have to be realistic and go, they may have the same values, but you still may not like them. You may not like me, but we may still believe some of the same stuff, but you may not like my attitude. You may not like the way I present it or say it.
Right.
But you'll go along with somebody else, even though you don't believe it, because you think that's what you need to do.
I won't, but yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is what this
ridiculous.
Is. You're being tribal, and you're going along with the collective illusion that this is the right thing to do. And
no,
I question whether they actually do. And in his stuff, he talks about a lot of times they don't. They're just going along with it because they think that's what they're supposed to be doing.
Well, and it's funny because one of the things he talked about was a scientific study that was funded in 2010 in the Netherlands, where a scientist put together basically a hot or not. Yeah. And he showed images, but it was a private study, not a public study. Mm-hmm. And so apparently, again, I didn't know this, there's a difference between a public study and a private study. And in the private study, they showed 200 plus images to people. Mm-hmm. And then they ranked between 1 to 5, I think it was.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And so they went through and they had them, say all of this. And then they went back and showed numbers on what they viewed. So like, let's say I did a 5 on the first 3 pictures, but then they showed me 2s and 3s. And then they basically said the other group, they were saying that this is collectively what the other peers in my group were choosing. So then it made me go, like so then in some cases, not everyone, but in some cases, they would go back to the person and say, some of the data didn't get recorded. We need to go back again. We're not doing your brain. We're not gonna record your brain. We just want you to go back. And that the majority of the people ended up going with what everybody else said.
They
the second time
answers.
Why? He's like, it's like real and crazy and it's weird. But the reality was there was no peer group. They lied in the study just to see where people's brains. So to me, it makes me personally very nervous that people can be so easily persuaded to change the shit they believe in. All that tells me is that either A, you really are someone who has no beliefs of your own, which is okay, I guess, but where's your depth as a person? You were handed all of them. Here's what your church told you to be. Here's what your parents told you to believe. Here's what your doctor told you to believe. Yeah. Here's what your spouse told you. So people are handing all these beliefs to you, and then you're taking them all and going, okay, I believe in this. I believe in this. Do you? And then you wonder why people are miserable.
It depends.
Right? It depends on what?
It depends on what it is and whether you've been exposed to anything else. If all you grew up was believing that something was a specific way, and you've never had any other so let's use I don't want to get off on a tangent about racism or anything like that, but let's use racism as an example.
Okay.
Deep South, right? Or up in the mountains somewhere, there's probably a whole group of people that think black people are evil and ignorant and whatever, right?
Okay.
And there's no black people that live in their town. Guess what? They don't allow them to come in their town. So this is their thought process. They've never moved outside of that town. So that is going to be their belief because they've never had any other experience or exposure to go against that.
Okay.
They can only believe what they've been taught to believe.
Okay.
Because they have no other means to change that.
But that's everybody.
Well,
that's me growing up in an Italian Catholic neighborhood.
Sure.
Does that mean only Italian Catholic people exist in the world?
If you stayed in that neighborhood and never moved away from it and worked in that neighborhood and lived in that neighborhood, you may still always believe that. So does that mean you moved away from it?
Okay, so here's going to be my question then. Yeah. Does that really make you racist, or does that just make you ignorant?
Yes.
No, because I don't think if you're not, so I guess the question is.
It depends on how you behave when you get out, if you get out of there.
Understood. Like, obviously, if you're hateful towards people, I get that. But what if you're not hateful and you just don't understand, or you just.
Because if you can change
but that's a different thing. But it all gets lumped together in one. This is what I'm saying is when you.
But that's why I said it depends.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Right. But the other part of it is so if you grow up in a certain area and I'm going to just say you believe that you have to eat crunchy peanut butter.
Yeah.
There's
because
crunchy
it's delicious
and smooth.
And the best kind of peanut butter.
I'm just saying, like, let's say you grew up with crunchy peanut butter. Does that mean you automatically have to hate people who eat smooth peanut butter just because they're different than you are? And I'm going to say the answer is fucking no. However, what is everybody doing right now? Oh, you voted different. You go to a different church. You have a different color on your skin.
Yeah.
You have okay, we all have control over this. We all have control over what the fuck we participate in.
Yes.
You know I'm going to get mad now because I can't help myself.
Uh-oh.
Because I can't help myself. Because we have control over this.
Yes.
We have control over how we respond and how we react and whether or not we participate in the nonsense. And the fact that people continue, this whole thing about the collective illusion really struck a chord with me because it makes me think I'm so blown away that people are so afraid to ask questions or move outside of what they're like. I know there's people who don't believe in a lot of things that they're participating in, but they're doing it anyway. I don't have respect for those people. It's one thing if you're someone who's so hardcore, strongly. What?
I said, thanks, Mel Robbins.
Someone who's so hardcore, strong believes. No, it's a good thing.
No, I know.
Hardcore, strong believes in something to your core. Like you believe like for me, for example, you are not going to take me away from doing the right thing ever. Yeah. When people aren't watching, I'm still doing the right thing. You just saw me do 2 things in the last week or last 2 weeks that nobody would have ever probably even thought of doing.
Yeah.
But I did it because it was the right thing and I didn't even have to think about it. It's who I am to my core.
Of course.
There's nothing that anybody will ever say to me that will ever take those things away from me. Ever, ever, ever. And if someone doesn't like me for those, then those are not my people and I don't care.
But you're not, okay. So it's different.
But I'm not going to pretend.
Talking about your people is different in the sense of... You, and I've told you this before, and not just you, me, smaller groups of us are unique in the thought process, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the things that we do, nobody else is doing it. Nobody else will do it. And does that mean they're bad people? I don't know. Most of the time they're good, right? So if somebody's mostly good, but sometimes they do something that's maybe not so honest or whatever, does it make them bad? No. Is it completely bad?
No.
I don't know. Does it though? It depends on what the bad thing is, right? Because ultimately,
that's true.
Yeah. So it goes back to
how bad is bad.
It depends. It depends, and that's why I say that with what we were talking about before. It depends. So people, because it's such a conundrum. It's so difficult because I want to be hardline like that. I want to be like, well, you don't act this way. You're not my people. Fuck off. Okay. I don't have time for you in my life. But maybe they're the ignorant one. Maybe they're the one that just came out of the all Italian Catholic neighborhood or something, and they haven't seen anything different. All they've ever been around is that lifestyle and that kind of thing. So they have to be given the opportunity. Now, those are very few and far between. So they're kind of extreme examples. Well, not if you're always
staying around your people.
No, it's true. And know people
grandma,
like that. Yeah.
Well, my grandma wanted everyone to just be friends with the family, and she didn't want you to have friends outside of the family.
I mean, you have family members now that just stay in their bubble.
I know.
The only reason they go out is because they have their kids are in a different town. So what happens is their other kid drives them to that other town. Sometimes they drive themselves, and they go spend a little time there, and then where do they go? Right back to where they're from.
Yeah.
And they're in the city. Like it blurs from one city to the next.
Yeah.
We're not talking about, rural Kansas here where it's 30 miles to go to their house and their town is 30 miles away and there's nothing around for another 30 miles.
Right.
So I feel like it's a different feel when you get into something like that. They have opportunity. They choose not to.
Right.
There's safety in that border, that invisible border that they have in where they live and participate and, go out in society. So, but I think when it comes to people, like he said, we are built to be tribal.
Yeah.
We have a herd. We go with the herd, right? And if you ever watch a herd, the herd turns, these two turn, the rest of the herd turns, right? So that's what people do. The difference is we have the ability to think freely and experience and go learn from that. So again, though, it doesn't mean that they are necessarily, are they or are they not? I guess it depends on the circumstances as to whether they're your person or not. If it's trivial, stupid shit, it's okay because they could learn. But it ultimately boils down to fear with people. They're afraid. They're afraid of being ostracized from whatever group they're part of because they've been trying to fit into that group.
But what kind of life is that to live in fear all the time is my point.
But that's what everybody's doing.
But that's why people have anxiety. That's why people have mental breakdowns. That's why people have high cortisol levels.
Yeah.
That's why people have eating disorders. That's why people drink. That's why people are drug addicts. I mean, that's a reality. And again, that's part of the science that he was talking about.
I want somebody to explain to me, when did this all happen? So I know to some level because of who we are, we were meant to be around other people, right?
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. We congregate together, we get together. There's a few randoms that don't, right?
Yeah.
Yes. That's how we are as animals. I want to know where the tipping point was. Where's the tipping point that started creating all of this
extremism?
Well, not just the extremism is manipulation. 100%. I'm going to say right now, I don't give a fuck what anybody wants to say. The extremism, there are people that have extreme beliefs.
Mind control.
Okay. They need more people on their side.
Yep.
So they get them to believe their way of thinking. I mean, we can use cults. We can use Nazis. We can use Jim Jones. We can use all kinds of people that get them to believe.
The comet.
Yeah, the comet Hale-Bopp. The what were those guys? The
ones who drank all the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, Marshall Applewhite was the guy's name. Yeah, well, Jim Jones did the same thing with the Kool-Aid in Guyana, right?
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so they get them to believe that they're going to get on the comet and go off to wherever they're going. So they manipulate them. and get them to believe a certain way. So that's all manipulation. The extremism is manipulation.
I know, and it's like you go after people who are looking for connection,
right?
Who are looking for friendship.
They're looking to belong.
They're looking for, and I think that's where I get so angry, because of the fact that you're exploiting people who are kind, and I mean, like the old people who are being scammed out of money because they trust. You're exploiting the old people. But the question, the ultimate. Why are you listening to the 10% loudmouth motherfuckers?
Right. Well, we're never going to figure out. Well, maybe we'll figure out.
I don't know.
But I will never. What I was going to say is we're never going to figure out where it fully started and why it's turned into what it is. Why so many people have anxiety, and so going back to the self-silencing part. Yeah. Right. I believe true self-silencing is out of self-preservation a lot of times, right? They don't want the confrontation. They don't want the fight. They don't want the person to go away that they like everything about, but this one thing they don't agree on them. And instead of speaking up and creating an issue, they hold it in. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully they have other friends that they can let it out with. Yeah. But they hold it in. For in their brain, the betterment of the relationship, right?
Yeah,
that's what it is. They're trying to save the relationship or keep the relationship intact. I shouldn't say save the relationship. But I can't figure out in society. I don't think self-silencing led to anxiety, because there's lots of people that grew up just having anxiety.
Well, he did say that the that generation is the highest self-silenced out of all of the generations.
But why?
Because they grew up with the screens, and not having real conversations with, like, nothing they ever really did was real. It was all on screens. So now when you're in real life, you're like, oh, think about, like,
but they're anxious to go out into real life.
Right.
But they've already been experiencing conversations, playing video games, typing on the internet, all of that. But
it's not the same. So have you ever had a conversation? I've actually asked people, this is a long time ago, people that I was arguing with on Facebook back in the million years ago, when I would actually try to have discussions with people and say, hey, so-and-so, how about if we meet up on Tuesday afternoon over at Starbucks and let's have a conversation? No, they never want to meet you in person.
Oh, of course not.
They don't want to have a conversation in person. It's very different when you have to look someone in the face. Do you think you're going to talk to them the same way you do when you're typing away on the keyboard? No.
Right.
You think you're going to call someone names like that when you're typing away on the keyboard when they're face to face? You are not. So, of course, you have all this strength and power and whatever with the keyboard, but then as soon as you have to be out in public, you have to work at your job or do whatever. How many of them can't even hold down a job because they don't know how to interact with people?
Right.
Oh, my boss was so mean to me. What did your boss do? Oh, I was late and they got mad. I just heard that from someone's kid. My boss got mad at me because I was late. I don't know why he couldn't just cut me a break.
Right.
Because you're not supposed to be late for work.
Yeah.
Because you have a job and you get paid to be there.
I still...
Do you see what I mean, though? Like,
I do.
It's just...
I do. It baffles me as to why it's gotten to that point.
I don't know. Let's ask all the parents who raised these kids.
Yeah, I don't...
Don't you think it's too many screens?
How did it create it?
It's not only just the parents putting their kids in front of screens all the time. It's also the fact that that's just the direction.
But there's
all
also,
the AI shit that are getting crammed down our throats right now. So
it's not even just young people. It's not even the newer generation. Yeah. It's some of people even our age or in between.
Well, COVID.
But
COVID ruined a lot of people. We still know people that live in our neighborhood that still won't stand on the same side of the street as people.
I guess because I don't have... I mean, I think everybody gets anxious about stuff. They get nervous about things.
Yeah. the unknown.
They get worked up about the unknown or, whatever it is, right? Yeah. We all have that, like stage fright, of course. Right? To use that example. I think everybody has a little bit of that, no matter what. That's normal. That's your body's response to,
of course,
something. It's protecting you. But I've never had it to where it was debilitating, where it kept me from doing something.
I don't know.
For the most part. I mean, I'm sure there's some things I'm like, I really don't want to fucking do that. And I know, whatever. But because I've never had it, maybe that's why I don't understand where it's coming from.
I agree
because
with you.
I don't view things that way. I don't view things to...
Me either.
There's nothing. There's like... no. That's not true.
I still get scared.
Put me on top of a building, I'm going to shit my pants. But, that's a fear versus...
I was scared when I had to go to the hospital. They told me I had to have my throat cut open and I was going to be at the hospital.
Right.
I was fucking terrified.
Right.
But what was I supposed to do?
Yeah. It didn't prevent you from doing something.
No, I went in and just was like, okay, I kind of just had to accept this is what's happening and God, hopefully everything works out, and thank God it did. But my point being is that was really scary. That was like,
it's a big deal. Right.
Like, I think, what if I don't wake up tomorrow and I'm gone? That was like a big deal to me. Yeah. So I feel like,
well, but I think that's a normal thing to have anxiety about.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a lot of people, I don't want to say normal because I don't want to be insulting to anybody, because I'm not. Just because I don't understand it doesn't mean I'm purposely being insensitive to it.
Well, I also feel like the word is overused.
Well, there's a lot of things that are overused. But I think that's a normal kind of, that's a response to a fear or something. That is something that just about anybody would have anxiety about.
Yeah, maybe.
It's the things that don't seem to be partially, for me, justified in why it creates it, right?
Yeah.
And that's not to say that the person doesn't experience it.
Like driving, like someone gets behind the wheel and they freeze and they
especially when they don't want to do it, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
Again, I'm not meaning to take away from the fact that I believe that they're experiencing it.
Yeah.
I just don't know why and where it all comes from, because more people today have it in abundance than over one specific issue. And
but he's saying that this is what's causing it. That's the whole point, is that we might have to buy his book. He has a book.
Oh God, you mean I have to read something?
But
you read it and tell me.
I will. He said,
I'm kidding.
He did say that was a big, he said that this is what's causing anxiety. Why there's so much more anxiety and stuff, is a lot of it is, it's the wanting to belong and fit in. I'm sorry, the not belonging, the fitting in.
Yeah.
Because the belonging is when you get to be yourself and you don't have to fit in. That was the difference, right?
Yeah.
Belonging is you get to be norm, you get to be yourself, and the people are going to accept you, love you, and approve of you just as you are. You don't have to change anything. Sure. You don't have to believe anything different. You don't have to self-silence. When you're trying to fit in is when you're physically going against yourself. If you're someone who doesn't like to, get dressed up and, like, I'm going to use myself as an example. I don't like wearing dresses and skirts.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
And if I'm forced to wear a dress or a skirt, I feel uncomfortable. I feel self-conscious. All I'm thinking about the whole time is how uncomfortable I am, how I don't like the way it looks, how I don't like, and I'm not even enjoying wherever the hell I am, whether it's at a wedding or a work function or whatever. I'm not even thinking, I'm not present in the moment because I'm too busy thinking about this.
Yeah.
I'm too busy thinking about how uncomfortable I am and how out of my element I am. And so I'm not anxious per se. I'm more annoyed. And of course, that's what raises the cortisol levels. And that's what keeps you in stress mode. And that's why people are, because the other part of it wasn't just anxiety. The other part of it was people have these higher cortisol and stress levels because of the fact that we're going against who we are. And for me, it's a little bit of a exaggerated example. Like, I mean, I don't ever really wear a dress, but anytime that I am doing something outside of that, forcing me to wear lots of makeup or whatever it is that's out of I don't mind doing things that are out of my element, to try something new or to, to do something different. Like, I agree with you. Like, when you're little and you're like, oh, I'm going to hang out with the kickball kids, and I'm going to go hang out with the volleyball kids, I'm going to go hang out with the tennis kids, because you're trying to figure out where you're going. And I get that part. I don't think you're trying, when that's happening, I don't think you're not being authentic. I think that's where you're finding yourself.
Yeah.
And maybe we just figured out that people are still trying to find themselves as adults because they still don't know which little group they fit in. And stop trying to fit in is the whole point. That's what he was trying to say. Stop trying to fit in and make sure you belong, that everyone deserves to belong wherever it is. But the fitting in part is the part. And if you think about it, even me saying belonging versus fitting in sounds hard. It sounds like a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Whereas belonging sounds gentle.
I don't think, yes, it does.
In the words, does it not? Like, as I heard myself say it, that's what I heard.
I don't think you can belong without fitting in. But the opposite is also, I don't think you can belong without fitting in.
I do.
How?
Because fitting in means you're trying.
No,
you know what I think of fitting in is like trying to fit into this shirt.
I know what
I'm
you're trying to say.
Squeezing myself into this shirt.
I know what you're saying is one way is true and the other way is not.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't fit in, you're not going to belong.
How?
It's true. Okay. I'm a booger eater. Okay. I'm a booger eater. So, I do everything the same with them. I belong with those people, but I don't fit in because I pick my nose and I eat it. So,
but that's not, but the point of belonging is it's you no matter what.
Right. Then where do you belong then? Because if you eat your boogers, nobody wants to be around you, so you don't fit in and you're not going to belong anywhere.
You're so funny. But
am I wrong?
No. So I'm sorry. That's really funny. The belonging part is belonging. The definition is you are yourself no matter what, and you're accepted as you are. Whatever that means, booger eater and all.
But okay. So, and not to make this episode longer, but who the fuck is going to accept you if you're a booger eater? Nobody. So you don't belong anywhere because you don't fit in because you eat your fucking boogers. It doesn't matter what it is. I know that's extreme.
That is very extreme.
I agree with you. It's not though, because there are some people that are out there that don't have good hygiene habits.
Okay.
They're not accepted by the majority of anybody. They don't get accepted because they smell, or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
So what are they going to do to belong? They have to do something to fit in and be accepted. Correct.
Okay.
Or go to the doctor. But they shouldn't have to. People should just accept them, and they should belong. That's how they belong, because then they're accepted. But they can't get accepted unless they fucking take a shower.
But then this doesn't make any sense then.
No, it does.
Then belonging doesn't mean anything.
What I'm trying to say is in order to belong, you do have to fit in somewhat. You can't be a pariah and belong unless you find a group of pariahs somewhere. But that doesn't make any sense because you're a fucking pariah. So you can't find it's not going to work. So you have to fit in somewhat. I'm not saying change who you totally are to fit in. That's what you're saying.
That's changing my definition of fitting in.
Correct. Right.
Because I'm going to say I'm trying to fit into smaller pants or smaller shirt or larger clothes or whatever. So trying to fit in takes effort. Yeah. If they don't fit, You're trying to fit in. It takes effort.
And I agree. I think
so. That's my.
I think in order to belong, there are things you do that allow you to fit into that group, not by changing who you are, just by adapting, because you're not changed. There's a difference in because you find the people that you belong with, but there might be something that you do or who you are that, as long as you're not compromising yourself, if it's a minor change in order to fit in with the people you belong with, there's nothing wrong with that. It's when you're when you're changing things just to fit in, is what you're saying. But I'm trying to say one requires some sort of being able to fit into a group. You can't belong to a group and be accepted. There are people that won't get accepted into any group. So that means they're going to have to change who they are in order to fit in and belong to a group. But I think it depends on the change. If it's a bad change, it's probably not good. If it's for your betterment and you're not compromising who you are, I don't think there's anything wrong with changing certain things in order to fit in. Like, I get along with these people. I think they're cool, but they all wear the old school. They peg their jeans and they wear Reebok high tops. So I'm going to change. I don't have any of those, but I'm going to change the shoes I wear because I like all these people. We agree on everything else. So I'm going to make a minor adjustment to the way I dress to hang out with them. And I don't mind those. I just never really thought about buying those shoes, right? You're doing something to fit in with them.
Yes, I would not.
No, well, you're not a booger eater.
But I also okay, I'm going to use an example. I went to a makeup demonstration party last week and I was around beautiful women. Yeah. 8, 9 other beautiful women, all of which who are very glamorous. They're always made up. They don't leave the house without looking beautiful. They were, we were in someone's house. It was in someone's home. It wasn't at like a place. And some of them were still, very nicely dressed and whatever. And I love that for them. I was wearing jeans and a flannel shirt because that's who I am. Right. And I wasn't going to change it, even though I knew I was going to be in a room full of these gorgeous women who are dressed to the nines, that look amazing, whatever. And I belonged there. Yes. I didn't have to change. I didn't have to go there and wear fancy clothes or whatever. Sure. I went as me and I belonged there. Right. That's my thought on that is I belong there for that reason. Yeah. I didn't change who I was. And I was, as you said, looking like I wanted to see, was there something potentially I could learn? It wasn't pushed on me. It wasn't forced on me. I enjoyed myself. I got to learn some things, but I didn't change who I was to be there. Right. I didn't. Why are you smiling at me like that?
Because the next time we have to go to an event.
Yes.
Where we're supposed to dress up. Yes. Notice I use the word supposed to. Yeah. And you ask me what you should wear, I'll say wear whatever you want because you belong there. Don't wear what they're wearing just to fit in.
Okay. Which is true. However, if it tells us what we have to wear, black tie, that tells us what we have to wear. So when we're told it's a black tie affair, in
order to fit into this event,
it's not in order. It's in order to attend. It's not fitting in or belonging. It's attending something. So you don't think you would fit in?
You probably won't fit in if you don't show up in black tie. If you show up in a fucking
probably wouldn't. I would
sweatshirt. Then
no, you're probably right.
Like, you don't fit in.
But I think attending something is not the same as belonging, or like it's a little different. That's just my opinion.
But you just made my point.
What do you mean?
It's a little different. It's a little different to adapt a little bit in order to belong.
I'm not trying to belong there. I'm attending something to be around some people, to see what it's like to be there, but I'm not trying to belong there. I'm not trying to become one of them. I'm not trying to fit into whatever. I'm there, I'm attending because maybe there's business there for me or friendship for me, or I'm there to support someone that I care about, that maybe it's their thing, it's not mine. I'm there to support them. I'm not trying to fit in or belong.
Yeah.
That's just me though. Again, I'm just saying that's just my thought on it.
I get it.
I understand what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. And I appreciate it.
There's a level of fitting in for an event like that. In order to, your choices are dress like us so that you can come to this event and show your support, or you don't get to come.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess that potentially is a
slight adjustment,
a level of quote unquote fitting in.
But that's my point.
No, you're right. And I guess, and you're right. So I guess, so going back to that, then for me, I guess you could say you might have done that to go to that event. That doesn't mean you changed who you were.
Correct.
Completely. Correct. You just, like you said earlier, wore a mask, if you will, to be there.
Yes. Yeah. However.
Or you don't go at all, which there's times if you are a person, and I think we've talked about this a little bit before, and then we can put this whole thing to rest. If you are a person who is finding you don't belong anywhere, you have to stop and ask yourself, why? Why do you not fit anywhere? And that's going to be is that really happening though?
Is it? Well, yes, that's all part of why. Because why do I not fit in anywhere? Well,
but who says you don't?
Well, it's their. I'm saying they say they don't fit in.
Okay.
They don't belong. There's nobody out there with them or like them. Okay.
And I don't know if I believe those comments, but yes.
Let me take you and show you all of the incels that don't believe they fit in or belong anywhere
but yet there's a whole bunch of them. And Correct. They even have a fucking name, incels, which means they do belong because they have all these other fucking people just like them.
I'm not saying you're incorrect. I'm saying this is the thought process.
Right.
So if you are a person who believes you don't belong, then there is a lot of self-reflection that you have to do there, and you have to be realistic. You have to go, okay, do I not? Is there some place I don't? Is there a place I actually am fitting in because these are my people? Or am I only going along with them because their narrative is the same, so I'm going along with it. So probably I adopt their ideology because of this. So because of your experiences. And you have to stop and say, okay, I don't belong because of this, right? I have Coke bottle glasses and pimples all over my face, and I don't shave my underarms, and I smell. Okay. I don't belong anywhere. Well, it's not that you don't belong. It's you've done everything to not belong.
No. Yes. But also the other part of it is you're trying to belong somewhere that you don't. You don't want to be. I know. You want to be part. But you want to be part of Group A. Yeah. You're part of Group B, but you want to be part of Group A. That doesn't mean you don't belong in Group B. It means you don't want to belong in Group B, and you're creating your own stress. You're creating your own anxiety, and you're creating your own problems because you don't like what you have in Group B. You want what they have in Group A. So you're going to do everything you can to fit into Group A. That's again goes back to me saying.
So I'm trying to use an example of self-reflection, period. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's the glasses or if it's an ideology or a thought process or whatever it is. It is a matter of you being honest with yourself. That is part of being honest with yourself. What you just said.
Right.
So this is who you are. Well, there's all the other Coke bottle glasses wearing people.
And you don't want to belong with them.
Right. Because like you said, so that's why this is my whole point is you have to be honest with yourself. And part of that honesty is actually asking, do you have people around you that you actually belong with versus trying to square peg, round hole it. Right.
Yeah. Because you're yes.
Right. You're wanting something else.
Right.
That's a difference.
Well, but do you really, or is that, but that's again, creating your own problems. Because you've watched
all of the Revenge of the Nerds movies, and that's where you want to be.
But that's why I go back to saying that belonging, I really do believe there's a difference between belonging and fitting in.
There is. I agree with that. I didn't say there wasn't. I think the difference is it's like, the stupid analogy on what show was it? Is that like is Big Bang Theory? All fingers are all thumbs are fingers, but not all fingers are thumbs.
Wait,
all thumbs are fingers.
Okay.
But not all fingers are thumbs.
Yeah, because you call these thumbs, but you say your fingers. You don't never differentiate.
But your middle finger is not a thumb. So all thumbs are fingers.
Both are right. Both are correct.
Yes, but not.
Interesting.
So you don't belong without some sort of fitting in. But just because you fit in doesn't mean you belong.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Thank you. It only took us an hour and 15 minutes to fucking get there. But no, this has been a very good conversation. It's more conversation than we usually have. I think we have more thought process about what we're going to talk about.
This was literally more stories.
This was us talking about this. Yeah. So I enjoyed this actually a lot more. I enjoy all of it, but I
would love to hear people's comments on this too.
Yeah, for sure, because we hit a lot of things, but it all falls into the same idea. Shout out to Mel Robbins.
Oh my God,
she has great podcasts. She has great people.
She really does.
Someday we'll be there with Mel Robbins, hopefully.
She is a life changer. If you get a chance to listen to her, I suggest you do.
Very, very good podcast.
That one was a really good one. That one was Todd Rose, and that was the September 28th podcast. If you want to listen to it, it was really good.
It's very interesting stuff, and she usually has really good things on there too.
She does.
Similar to what we talk about, just different, but we like getting some ideas and stuff from there too, because it's good stuff to talk about. And then I wanted to make one other really quick comment. It's funny, I'm just gonna say comment. When you made the comment earlier, or the point earlier about online, how people will post, specifically thinking about Facebook or even Instagram, those are comments. They're not conversations.
That's good. Good point.
They're comments. They're a means for you to just blast whatever you want. And then if you want to keep fighting, you'll see that they commented back and you can go back and make another comment towards them. And usually it's all derogatory.
Of course it is.
But they're comments. They're not conversations.
That's a good point.
You can't call them a conversation until you interact. And then a lot of times it's contentious.
Even texting is in conversation. People say it's conversation. It's not the same.
But it's more be more conversational.
Yeah, but it's not
it's abbreviated. It's like back in the day when we started emailing, at least people would treat them like a letter or something like that. And, Dear Norm. No, fuck. Stop that. Because it's evolved from that, right? But anyway. So yeah. Anybody wants to reach out to us, they can on Facebook, of course, Real Shower Talk. Excuse me. Instagram, real.shower.talk. And
realshowertalk@gmail.com for email.
Thank you. So I guess until next time.
Thanks for listening as always. And sorry for my passionate comments.
No, what are you sorry
I get
for?
Pissed when we talk about this stuff.
For? This is what we talk about, and this is why we talk about it. There's nothing to be sorry for.
Well,
these are good conversations. This is literally how we converse a lot of times.
Oh, I know.
We will go back and forth and try and make points. And I'm not trying to convince Tina of anything.
And neither am I.
I'm trying to make the point, reinforce what she's saying, but also from a different standpoint.
And I love
because
that.
I think
it opens your mind.
And this wasn't even hers; it was literally from this person. So
also we're revealing, not persuading.
Correct. Yeah, I'm not trying to get her on my side. We're trying to I'm trying to understand and also,
I love it.
Go from there.
It's called conversation and communication.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Not commenting.
Until next time.
No comment.
Bye.